But it's in those moments when you ask for help, that's where their true colors really shine. And it gives you the information of knowing, okay, this is how this person leans. Yes, it's hurt me. Yes, they look at me differently. But now I have information on my end that I can start pushing them away a little bit further and focus on the people who would not hurt me, who are stronger with me in that capacity. Oh man, it's been such a week, and my gosh, John, you are looking fabulous. My God, you're seizing the day today, aren't you?
I am seizing the old day. I, as those of you who are afflicted with watching this for a long period of time will learn, am a fan of a certain football team. I won't tell you who it is, and there will be no clues, but they keep winning lately, and it's making me very happy. And if this is not synced to the episode that it might be, it'll be very confusing because they will have just lost. Anyway, I'm in a good mood. Things are going quite well. Things are turning up up here.
Fantastic. That's great.
So I thought I'd, we like to pop open a little good news, pop the cork on some good news here at the ZD just to keep things nice and bright. So I thought it was like Alzheimer's, just a chipper topic we all think a positive association with.
I love Alzheimer's.
It's one of the greatest things
Can't
ever.
get enough Alzheimer's.
I mean, I have a Starbucks in the morning, and then I forget that I had a Starbucks. So I just go to Starbucks again. And, my bank account looks weird because I've been there 45 times in the span of 2 hours, but we love Alzheimer's.
Yeah, it's, while it is a nice blank check to buy infinite coffee, Alzheimer's is also known as a devastating illness.
Yeah.
I'd spread out a little bit just from an infotainment, more or less tainment, way more info. Dementia, of course, is the umbrella term for a bunch of conditions, including Alzheimer's, that impact your cognitive abilities, your memory, your thinking, your reasoning, and it messes with your daily life. If you know anybody afflicted with any of these, you are aware. I have people in my family who've been afflicted by Alzheimer's. And while the stories themselves are funny, in retrospect, there's often a level of like genuine horror and pain. It's one of the scarier things a person can deal with, and it impacts a significant population, especially of older folks as we go. And yet, it's on the good side because I have some good news about it. So some common things to consider. One is there's a thing in the medical and general health field called differential diagnosis, where you take thing A and you take thing B and you take thing C and D and E and F, and you kind of take the symptoms and move them apart. For instance, in my background in behavioral health, we'll see like a lot of looks like depression, and depression looks like a lot of you got to kind of suss it out. But one of the things that they've learned recently is that, and I have written this down, the pronunciation, I've tried it several times, we'll see how I do. Alzheimer's specifically, but dementia in general, often looks like hepatic encephalopathy. I'm doing this very wrong. But the point is, it's a different illness. It's a liver-based illness, and people have been not getting it treated because people think it's Alzheimer's, and they do things that don't work because it's a liver thing. I'm not going to do all the science at you. There's a study if you want to read it, and we put that somewhere. But if your liver goes bad, your body goes bad. Your liver is very, very, very important to your health. And if it starts to do it badly enough, you're past the fatty liver stage, you're heading towards cirrhosis town, you start to have symptoms that mimic Alzheimer's. They look a lot like it. So there's been this couple of studies where they had, let me see. Study the first was with 177,000 U.S. veterans diagnosed with dementia between 2009 and 2019. And they ran a study on liver tests. They checked for high fibrosis, aka FIB4, to measure liver scarring, meaning they would probably have cirrhosis. And it was like a solid 10% of those people. Additionally, they did it on another broader study of like 70, actually a slightly smaller study, but 70,000 people, and found that it was up to 13% with the general population. And the studies have shown that if you treat liver, also like we're getting way better at treating liver stuff in general. There's been a study in mice where we can show that if you catch liver aging problems, like this terrible death cycle we're all afraid of, early enough, it's like totally reversible, actually, and we're ready to start working on that, applying that to humans. So this is a really, really good piece of news. So sometimes this misdiagnosed Alzheimer's will just be this liver issue, which is much more treatable than it ever was before. The science is brimming with lovely good news. And yet, you're like, but what if it's actually Alzheimer's, though? I still got you covered. So maybe you've heard of an ultrasound, most famously associated with like the baby times when you're like zooming in on the tummy and seeing the baby and you get that picture and someone's like, look how cute my baby is. And you're like, that's a blob. Maybe you can see the baby. I never have. Okay. But I say it's cute anyway because I'm disingenuous. But I've also had an ultrasound done to my knee. They glorped it up to kind of look for like nerves. Anyway, I digress.
Did you see the baby in your knee?
I did, and I started to scream, and then they like strapped me down. And I can remember everything else. Yeah. Really with your gait when there's a baby in your knee.
But yeah, I can imagine.
I swear a lot. I'm realizing. Sorry, Editor Daniel. Well, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe I'm not. Sorry. To go back to the core. To go to the core point. Back to the core point. Ultrasound technology, and I'm going to oversimplify things for two reasons. One, time, and two, if I'm real with you, I don't like. I couldn't do one. I don't know how it works to that degree, but it uses sound waves, and we have been refining that technology I'm going to scroll to my little note that I wrote on this earlier. So they've been working on being able to more fine tune the sound waves and how they can aim them. And effectively, there's this idea that they can now like kind of fire it into your brain or other areas and heat it up. Think of like sunlight through a magnifying glass on a leaf, burns. Ultrasounds are beginning to be able to do this. And because they've been working on, I forget what I wrote, the ultrasound transducers, the things that the probes that convert electrical signals and vibrations, they've started to hit targets more, which has been able to already make progress reducing and eliminating essential tremors in people. So people who have the hand tremor and other things like that, this is getting, they can kind of like zap it in your brain, which is really cool. They've said that there's uses for this technology that can also help molecules from medicine navigate the blood-brain barrier, get things in there that were harder to like permeate before. They can stimulate by just kind of like poking parts of your brain, immune responses against cancer, giving it a better shot against that. And my favorite one is they can just like shoot lesions that cause neurological symptoms. So not a cure-all, not a thing, but advances in technology that also involve just like sound lasers, and that's pretty cool. It's promising to know, especially if you know someone who has a cognitive degenerative neuro disease. I said that bad, but I don't, whatever, we'll edit it. Maybe we won't. Anyway. Like I said, I have people in my family who have this, and just knowing that there are things on the horizon that can be helpful with it is nice for people that I love. It's also nice for me because if it runs in my family, I want to feel protected against it. So once again, these scientist folks, they're pretty neat. I like them. I'm grateful for them.
Pretty good.
Yeah, they're great. As someone whose mother is suffering late stages of dementia, it's really good to know that those reaches have been there in that particular capacity. And, you know, talking about liver for a second, it used to be that if you had liver problems, the only reason you had liver problems was alcohol poisoning. Then, what, 40 years ago, maybe 30 years, no, 40 years ago, we found out this thing called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which got us down a path of like looking at how fructose has something to do with latching onto the fatty parts of our liver. And now we're finding out, just as John said, that how important the liver is, and that there's all different kinds of things that the liver can do that limits our ability. But most importantly, the best part, John, it's reversible. At least the signs are leading towards it could potentially be. And that is super exciting because oftentimes, or for a long time historically, it has been seen any damage you do to the liver is irreversible. So knowing that it possibly might be is fantastic.
Wonderful news. Mm-hmm.
Science is pretty great. Well, I guess that's all there is for the week. Nothing else to talk about. That was great.
Nope.
Yeah.
And once again, I just find myself feeling too good. I don't.
You're feeling too
like
good?
this. Yeah, I get all glowy and I can't stop like smiling, and it's very distracting. So if there was any like, I don't know.
Are you a glutton
like
for punishment?
Are you glowing because of the baby in your knee? Is that, you know,
Yeah,
so
is that what's
you
happening?
glow during pregnancy? Is that what it is? You're looking for it?
Yeah, it's my baby knee disease. Please help. The doctor
Baby knee
recommends
disease.
badness. He was like, more sad, be
Yes.
less, but give me a problem.
Well,
I gotta bring it down.
If you have a baby in your knee, and if you had a baby in general, I'd imagine the one thing you want to do is want to make sure it is upbrought with the best thing possible. And the first thing I want to do with my baby is making sure my baby knows how to play a Nintendo. So,
Of course.
with our bad, good old Nintendo. Let's talk about Nintendo just a little bit. Nintendo Switch and Switch 2. We're familiar with those little properties, little kind of devices. I have a Switch 2. I quite
Yes.
like it quite a bit. I like the Switch 2 because it's basically a Switch, just better. That's it. It's just a Switch, but better. It can play 99.999% of all Switch 1 games and even improve upon them many times, more than not. And then the Switch 2 supported games just look great, run great. It's all a good time. It should all be fantastic. So if I'm a Switch owner and I had a Switch on day one, which I basically did, thanks to my wife surprising me for my birthday one time, and I have a huge library of Switch games, and I want to go to the Switch 2 and I want to make sure I early adopt or I get as many games as I can and play Switch 2 games or Switch 1 games, I should be in good hands. Well, as we might know, John and Daniel, you're smart cookies. When a new piece of hardware comes out and it promises backwards compatibility, there's that cool 2-year period of time where they launch Switch 1 versions of the game and Switch 2 versions of the game. And it would be really cool if you bought a Switch 1 version and you got the Switch 2 enhancements for free if you were a Switch 2 owner. We know that's not how capitalism works. That's stupid. Most companies, if they don't give it to you for free, are charging maybe a $10 fee for an upgrade pack of some kind. Some people are doing $20, which is kind of insane, but still, there's some kind of pack. If I own the Switch 1 version of a game and I want the Switch 2 upgrade, there's some path for me. Which leads us to our discussion for today. And unfortunately, I'm going to pull some punches for a very good friend of mine, a company that I quite like, but, you know, we got bad things come from all different kinds of places. And I got to talk about our good friends here at Sega. I got 4 games on my screen right here. Yakuza 0, Raido, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, Shadow the Hedgehog Generations. These are 4 Switch 2 games. And John and Daniel, 3 of these games are not like the other. Can you guess what those are and why?
Fear it's related to the thing you said
It
about
is.
backwards compatibility.
Yeah, I'm with you. It is confusing, isn't it? Sega isn't making it easy for you. So one of these games has no Switch 1 version, so that it's not possible to play it on Switch 1. That's Yakuza 0. Okay, so all right. Yakuza 0, by the way, was a PlayStation 4 game.
Yeah.
Pretty sure a lot of things could run it. They could have made a Switch 1 version. They chose not to. It's only Switch 2 exclusive. Okay, fine. I've played this game. It's very good on Switch 2. We're not talking about that. These 3 games, Raido, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, and Sonic Shadow Generations. These are Switch 2 games that have a Switch 1 version, but there is no upgrade path from the Switch 1 version to the Switch 2 version. If you happen to buy the Switch 1 version today, because that's all you have is a Switch 1, and you want to play on a Switch 2 later on, you have to pay the entire full price once again to play the Switch 2 upgraded version. I bring this up because this is a rarity. More times than not, developers are either giving you the upgrade for free, charging a nominal fee, or at the very least, the Switch 1 version gets some kind of weird, cool, fun enhancements by running on Switch 2. No, that is not the case here. And in the fact of, let's say, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, the Switch 1 version is just called Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, and the S, I don't know what that implies because it's a Switch 2 title. It gives you one additional extra feature, one additional gameplay mode, and that's it. Otherwise, it's identical, and it runs almost the same resolution. Shadow Generations is a demonstrably better game on Switch 2. The Switch 2 version came out a mere months after the Switch 1 version came out, and it was right after the Switch 1 version was on a deep sale. So a lot of people bought this game for like $20, thinking, oh, cool, I'll get to enjoy it on Switch 2. No, you got to buy it again for about $70. And Raido, the same thing. And before you think, oh, it must be only them, well, turns out there's a couple other games that do this too. So once again, Pac-Man World R2 Repack is another example of a Switch 2 title that there is no upgrade path. Now, it's a little bit cheaper, so maybe that's perfectly fine. But other titles in the Namco lineup, like the, remind me, folks, there was that Pac-Man Labyrinth game that came out by Namco. It was like a Metroidvania they made. That has an upgrade path, but this one doesn't. It's totally arbitrary. So here's the deets, folks. Sega is obviously doing this because they think they can get away with it. And Namco is testing the waters with a couple of titles to see if they can get away with it. I am literally asking you that you don't let them get away with it. It's not fair to you as the consumer if you buy a thing that is 99% identical to the other thing and they withhold something at literally double the price. So what can you do? Well, you can hold off and wait until you're ready to play the Switch 2 version. That version of that story sucks. Or 2, play the Switch 1 version, enjoy it for what it is, because these Switch 1 versions are fine. They're perfectly playable. And don't give your money to companies that do this. I'm literally asking you, don't, as much as I love Sega makes some of my favorite games. This is not a fun practice. So please do not give in to the big new Switch 2 version unless it's on a deep sale to the effect that it would be almost like an upgrade path. This is business practices all around. I just want people to be aware of this, and it sucks.
Yeah, I just want to point out that most likely never will be on a deep sale because Nintendo, they don't know what a sale is. They don't know what putting games on sale is. They don't do that. So, which is, that's fine. But just saying, you'll be waiting a long time, maybe forever.
Fun fact though, Nintendo, first party Nintendo, actual Nintendo offers the most amount of free upgrades to Switch 2 that other companies don't do. So kudos to that. One of the only forced upgrades is like the Kirby game that came out, Forgotten Lands, and the 2 Zelda games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Yes.
Other ones are all basically free upgrades if you'd like to.
I believe that you should do things within your values. I believe you should signal with your wallet. Companies do respond to this. There's a game that I very much enjoy called The Bazaar. They just went from free to play to another model, frankly, because I think they were failing at the previous thing, which is a shame in a way because they're a good game. They dropped the game at $40, and I have a review on Steam to this day that says, don't buy this $40. This is insane price. Do not do this. And a lot of other people posted that review, and now it's $20. And if we hadn't posted those reviews, it would be $40.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not crediting, me with that. I mean, maybe I am, but like, there's a level of companies do be testing. So you know what, man? If you're a person who's like, I just want to play Sonic, I just want to play Shadow. Cool, dude, do it. Good, love that for you. However, if you're a person who's on the fence with one of these things and you can make your voice known, know that it does work. Companies respond to one thing, maybe two: money and press. So you can put a little dent there. They will take the ground you give them.
I will say that, and I also want to couch the other thing, which is companies do this lovely, horrible, awful thing where they try to make you feel bad if a game isn't successful. Like, we're not making a sequel to this game because you didn't buy enough of this. But turns out you bought plenty. You bought 6 million copies, but they wanted 10 million copies. That's kind of their problem, not yours. Don't give in to that. That's some producer on the executive producer on that end of the pipeline who made that, benchmark that was super impossible to reach. They probably had an agenda of his own, and he's blaming gaslighting consumers, and I'm encouraging you not to let that happen.
Did somebody say Square Enix?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it's very common. They make me so angry. It makes me want to pull a boat with my teeth. That's my beautiful thing.
I can't wait for that. That should be now. I don't want to talk about anything other than that.
Seriously.
Let's go to that right now.
Yes, so it makes me so mad that I would like to pull a boat with my teeth, which is precisely what a gentleman named Ashraf Marous from Egypt. He's a popular Egyptian wrestler, but he doesn't just wrestle. He wanted to break a world record. I love my world records. I do.
Yeah.
Shout out to the homies at Guinness. We love Guinness here.
Yep. So he's 44 years old, still going at it. He's very popular in his place of residence, where children apparently run after him in the streets, where he's known simply as Strongman, which is awesome. Just to be followed around by small children, be called Strongman, Strongman. So anyway,
this sounds very fake. This sounds like a thing that people lie about. This is amazing.
It does sound fake. However, it is not. It's very much real.
Oh man. Oh,
here we go.
Boy.
All right.
Yeah, the big guy. This is Strongman himself, Ashraf Marous from Egypt, who is a wrestler who wanted to break the record for pulling a boat attached to a rope using only his teeth. So, just to put this into context of how insane this is, of how wild this is. So, back in 2018, the record was set at pulling a 614-ton ship. Okay? That was the previous record, which is already wild enough as it is. Airman Strongman, Ashraf over here, first pulled a 700-ton ship to break the record. And he was like, I can do better than that. I can do way better than that. 700 tons? What's 700 tons to this guy, to Strongman? The little children, they'll be disappointed in me if they hear that I've only broken the record, by 86 tons or whatever. So he proceeded then to pull 2 ships, weighing approximately 1,150 tons together with his teeth.
My teeth hurt hearing this.
I don't know what toothpaste this guy's using. Holy crap. Like that's some good stuff.
I mean, it gives a whole other meaning to the fact that teeth are stronger than bones. They are. That's true. Wow.
Out of 10 dentists, how many do you think are going in on this as like a thing? Like flossing, use chains.
Yes.
Is it a chain? What does he have? What's going on?
You want about what he's pulling with?
Yeah.
It's a
tooth,
rope.
but you know what I mean.
It's a
rope.
rope.
All right.
Yeah, it's a rope.
So that rope has to be pretty strong.
Yes. So apparently he showed up,
this.
and in an interview, he showed up and he said, "Today I have come to break the world record," and then pulled some heavy boats. This guy's insane. This guy's crazy. So, in preparation for the feat, he followed a protein and iron-rich diet.
What is going on?
All while training for 2 hours, 3 times a day. And this wasn't the first time.
How did he train? What was his training regimen?
It doesn't say.
Dude's just sneaking around the docks
It
like...
doesn't say. It just says trained. It just says he trained. I don't know how. Maybe he trained by pulling smaller ships. I'm not sure.
I also want to point out this photo you're showing, if it's accurate and not a publicity photo, that's his neck, man. Like it's his neck doing like all the work.
Yeah. Like, dude has a tree trunk for a neck. So this guy's 6'3", weighs 341 pounds, and apparently when he was a kid, he used to just haul his friends around for fun, just in wheelbarrows on his shoulders, whatever. And he believes, this is the best part, there's some mystical going on with this guy. Marus believes that speaking with the object he pulls beforehand helps him establish a connection and is key to his success. This sounds like some Dennis Reynolds stuff.
Yeah.
It's important for me to treat the object that I will pull as part of my body that moves along with my heartbeat. This guy's a philosopher. It's awesome.
It's incredible. That makes me feel so much better.
As one last thing before we go into the episode proper, he plans to send a request to the Egyptian presidency for permission to pull a 263,000-ton submarine.
Well, that's going to be interesting because, wait, will it be in sinking mode or flotation buoyancy mode? Because so far, yeah. I was just going to say, like, because so far he's been doing stuff that's been able to float, so at least you had that assistance here. But if it sinks, oh my God.
Well, get this. I said I was done. I'm not done. I will be done after this final thing. He also hopes someday to pull a plane. Not with his teeth. Not with his teeth. Take it. Before we move on to the episode proper, I want to take a moment. Guess what he wants to pull the plane with?
I shudder to
his
think.
tongue.
His eyelids.
Nope. Nope. No, sir.
No. God.
No.
Ow.
Decline.
Ow.
No.
Talk about a red-eye flight. Jeez, that's...
I could almost, in the gravest of my imaginations, imagine the teeth part. Like, I could almost, kind of, sort of.
I can't.
Eyelids.
A plane, they would rip from your face. That is...
It's the most sensitive part of your body.
You made up the eyelids part for the joke, right? Like, he doesn't really want to do that, right? Right?
My friend,
Please?
we're talking about strongman here.
That's fair. It's
We're talking about
strong.
Nothing is a joke to strongman.
What an upsetting man that I'm still in love with. Holy cow.
There you go.
Thank
There you
you.
go.
Also, how dare you do this to my brain?
Mm-hmm. That's what I strive for, is every time that I share something, I hope to be thanked and also, told that I've ruined your life.
John, last week we talked about the power of crying, of tears, of doing it in the space of company. And today, I think a proper extension of this is that same vulnerability, what it means to ask for help. And John, I feel like you have a couple words to say about that particular topic.
A tight 5. I have a gaping 20. I have a solid hour I can do on this. I've taught classes on this for 4 years. I love talking about it. Asking for help turns out to be a pretty important thing. And we are, of course, really bad at it because of a variety of conditionings, which I will share with you shortly. But for the first bit, I want to talk about the pen experiment. As per all experiments I refer to on this show, if you hit me up and you're like, John, I don't believe the experiment's real, you have to get a citation, I will. But for now, just look at the pen on Sam's screen and look into my eyes and know that this did happen, and citations are available if you need them. But the gist of the study is, there's a man, he's doing a show, an experiment. I'm new to talking. We'll figure it out. But he says to passerby number 5, who later would fill out paperwork saying it's okay that you take my data and this is a study and we all know those things. He says, hey man, could you hold this pen? And the person goes, yeah. Or they say no and they do no longer participate in the experiment. Take the pen. Guy goes off. Comes back. He says, hey man, I'm back. Thanks for holding my pen. And the guy goes, hey, here you go. And then someone else comes up and goes, hey, that guy who just asked you to borrow a pen, what do you think about that guy? And they would give you a little thing to rate the person. People rate that person favorably consistently. When you ask somebody for help, the person who receives the ask internally in their brain goes, oh, that person trusts me. We must be close. Okay, cool. It is a genuinely biologically well-received thing. If you think back in the time, dear listener, when you were asked for help by a person, if your first thought was like, I damn you to the pits of you, maybe you're like a bad person, so change the way you are. But for most people, what actually happens is you're like, yeah, man, for sure. Of course I want to be there for you. You're my buddy. You're my pal. You're my friend. It feels good to be asked for help. So why does the asker reliably feel so bad? So a while ago, I had a hard time. It happens to everybody. I have them from day to day. And I remember turning to my friend, a friend of mine who I think both of you know. His name is Aaron. And I didn't need money. I just needed a person to listen to me talk about how things were. I'm a therapist. I am fully well aware of the biomechanical advantages of this. I have pre-consent from this individual, Aaron. He says, you can hit me up day or night, talk about things. I specifically want to support you. You can't get a clearer runway than that. And as I'm going to be like, hey, dog, I'm real sad. My hands falter. They shake ever so gently. And I think, I don't want to burden him. And that's the magic word of the day, is burdening. And the difference between burdening and being helped. Any thoughts on that from the other folks on this fine show? The difference between burdening and being helped before I just ramble along?
I have so many thoughts. I don't want to take away from your steam, but just to echo the sentiment that human beings have this thing where when they are being asked upon for help, it doesn't, more times than not, there's a couple times where it does, but more times than not, we don't think, oh, this person's a piece of shit for asking me for help. They're horrible. They're awful. We go, oh, I'm special. I'm valued. I'm developing a relationship. I mean something. So we say in the leadership spaces quite often, the easiest way to give someone self-esteem isn't to actually give them self-esteem. You can do that. That's great. But you know what, the better way to say, hey, John, I need your help on something. You were successful in this last week, and I'm doing the same thing now, and I could use your expertise on this. Bam. John does not think to me, hey, you suck because you can't do it on your own. I'm better than you. John goes, I mean something, and I'm great. And we know from leadership studies, leaders, 99 times out of 100, when they do this, they are revered more by their constituents and those that work underneath them than otherwise, which is a common myth and a common thing that many leaders feel is the opposite. They feel that, oh, I should be the one with all of the answers. And if I'm not the one with all of the answers, then obviously I'm failing as leader. But turns out it's the inverse of that. And I'll talk about that a little bit more, but I don't want to take away from your thought about burdening.
Yeah, no, A of all, you could not burden me by doing such a thing, for it would only be a boon. I would be greatly helped. Boon means pleasant and positive thing. Like, boon is like a good thing. People don't know what boons are. I'll be talking about boons, so like strap into your boons, get ready for boons. But the gist of a burden versus a frankly, I think the joy of helping somebody is a burden feels like you have to. A burden is like, you have to do this. Certain people who have a thing called ADHD have a specific sensitivity to have-tos because we have a pain with sustained tasks. I will sidebar do ADHD things sometimes because it is so integral to the ADHD living person's like experience. If someone says, you must vacuum the floor, you must take this back by whenever, a piece of the brain goes, ooh, I don't like to do that. I feel a bit trapped now. Whereas you can completely skip this mechanism, or I would say shunt it to 85, 87% by just slipping a little consent verbiage in at the front of it. You say, hey, you know what? I could really use some help. Can you help me out with this thing? If you can't, you feel free to say no. The person no longer is going to say no. If it's a ridiculous request, like go to the volcano and like jump in, they might. But at this point, what they do is they feel good. It's cueing the thing that Sam was alluding to earlier. The person goes from a position of like, neutral to being like, oh, I'm a helper. It feels good. So that's a big piece of it. The big reason, the big psychological principle, and if you are tired of hearing about this, don't watch this show because it will come up again, I guarantee you, is it's the pain surrounding failure. Asking for help means you failed at something because you're supposed to be able to do it on your own. And now, dear listener, if you're saying to yourself, hey, whoa, that was an assumption. Why am I supposed to be able to do it on my own? Great catch. You're going to do well with the show. You should keep watching. You're going to get along well here. Because you shouldn't. We are a social species. Humans, we do so poorly, as we covered in our last show, when we're on our own completely. It feels good to be amongst other people. And the helping mechanic is part of monkey lore. If we're all hanging out doing, monkey stuff together, and I'm like, I can't get this banana, man. Can you like hold me up a little bit? Can you like climb on my shoulders and grab it? We're now like a team. And humans love we love cheering for teams and watching teams. But all of this is predicated upon the ability to say, I can't do it on my own. And as I say that, does anybody, and feel free to like not have it, you're you, be authentic, but do you have an emotion, a reaction, a feeling to, I can't do it on my own?
Well, I would just offer that in literature, in film, in storytelling, the greatest fantasy in the world is the one-man hero. The
Yeah.
that's why we love it. We love going to the movies and watching the one person do the thing. And that to me is the most fantastical element of a lot of these stories is one person doing it all by themselves. It's the most unrealistic part of these stories. And that's why we love it, because we wish it was true. But truthfully, that's not how these things work. So when we hear the phrase, I can't do it on my own, there is a feeling just generally of defeat. There's a feeling of, man, I suck. I failed. I didn't do the right thing. But if you flip it the perspective to go, hey, actually, I can't do it on my own, that's empowering. Like, let me collect a network of people now. Let me get to know people who can help me make this thing happen. Fun fact, listeners, there's a version of this podcast where it's just the Sam Kirk show. And let me tell you, that would be a demonstrably worse show. But I said to myself, I can't do this alone. I need help. I need smarter people on the side of the clinical counseling side. I need smarter people when it comes to the aesthetic and the design side. And honestly, I just don't want to do it alone. Like, forget that I can't. I just don't want to. It's a lot more fun if it's all three of us working on it together. And that's one of the biggest compliments I can give to my two compatriots right here, but also just a genuine example of how that all works.
I want to celebrate that. I don't want to get too mushy for the sake of time. Insofar as mushiness, I'll get mushy all day. I'll get mushy anytime, anywhere.
Get mushy. It's good for the engagement.
It's if it was just the Sam Kirk show and me doing it, first of all, that's like identity theft, and that's a crime, as it turns out, you're not allowed. But also, if it was just the me show, it would never happen. There are people for whom like help was offered. I was one of these people, and boy, oh boy, do I take that gratefully. It's been really fun having a team here to kind of bounce things off of, and the ability to say, you know what, man, I agreed to do this part. I don't know how I'm doing it. I'm not feeling ready for it. And having the person be like, okay, how can I help? It feels incredibly good. Once that system is built, you have unlocked a new talent in your tree, which is you can just skip that step and go to the person and say, hey, man, can you help me out with this? I'll tell you, that consent question is really big. But with the failure piece, there's two things. I'm actually going on a very short failure tangent based on my shirts. Look at that. Okay, so that's my shirt. That's a little
Combo
block.
breaker. Nice.
Yeah, right. Okay. Combo breaker, fighting games. That's how the three of us met each other, just playing fighting games on the internet. Fighting games, I don't know if you've played them before, typically, and there are some exceptions in this new modern era of the 2X KOs, they're one-player games. And it's nice because you can embrace that fantasy of being like, I'm the best. I'll beat all my opponents, and I'll become the strongest player. I don't have a team. I don't rely on my receiver to catch the ball, my quarterback to throw the ball. But of course, I have Sam immediately. You can see on his face was like, don't say that. They're not a one-player game. They're a two-player game at minimum because you're playing an opponent, and your opponent, if you have a really great mindset, is your immediate helper. They're helping you out. And what I would add on that, and where I actually had initially started this point going in my head, was when I really got into fighting games, and my skill level does correlate with this, but that's not the point I want to drive home, is the community that I was with, the fighting game community, some call them, and specifically my local and online ones, really is what helped me. I had a person once say, hey, I noticed you keep doing this. Can I offer you some help? And then I later got him to be like, hey, man, can you help me figure this out? And now it is so much more fun, to Sam's point. Asking for help is it's a full gas, no brakes thing once you feel the consent piece. And the other piece I have to talk about, which I think I may have touched on previously in the last episode. If you can get to the space of saying like, my identity, we're going to go full high concept and not literally what you say, but my identity is intact and strengthened by asking for help. You become a more powerful player at everything you want. You become a better member of your community. And also, and this is like the smooshiest part of the whole thing, you're teaching the person you're asking for help that it's a two-way street. By beginning the dialogue, they're like, and I can do this back. I can also take advantage of the system. And now you two are closer. The downsides are few. I said I would talk about this earlier, and I think that a lot of these points may have even been made in our previous episode. So go watch that. Subtle plug, but
point at the screen.
Yeah,
Listeners are just seeing
it's
a
over
bunch
here.
of people.
The
We're
link
all
will be
pointing our
here.
fingers just obnoxiously,
Yeah,
and Daniel's in the
the
background
link
like,
will be
guys,
here.
stop pointing. No one can see that if they're listening.
Yeah, the
We
link
don't
will
care.
be here.
We're obnoxious.
The link will be here. But I sorry, I'm having too much fun. I'm very serious again. But insofar as if your identity can stay in a place of strength and you can ask people for help, they will feel closer to you. You will feel better to them. And the weakness aspect of it begins to go away. That's what I was going to touch on. I remember I distracted myself. We have been societally taught that the lone brave hero, you're James Bond, who's the guy?
Tony Stark.
Jack.
Or
Tony
you're
Stark.
Superman. You're Batman.
Yeah. And if you follow the trend, when did the Avengers kick off and they became the Avengers? All of the individual stories lead to the team and asking for help. And there's several pivotal scenes where they have to do so. And that's the feeler. That's when you care about it. So what I would encourage anybody listening to this to do is to prove me wrong. Go ask somebody for help. And if it goes wrong, you can write it in and be like, yeah, no, they stabbed me right in the face and you suck. And I'll feel real bad about that. But also I'll ask you who you asked for help. But I challenge you. I challenge you to ask somebody for help in a small way. And I think you'll be pleased with the rewards.
Yeah, I have two extensions based on what you just said, John. One on the fighting game side and one on the business leader life side. Fun fact for those that are into video games today, playing fighting games maybe for the first time or the past couple of years, there was a time when there was no internet. There was a time there's no such thing as ranked online play or whatever the case may be. There was a time there's no such thing as a training mode. The first Capcom training mode in a fighting game was Street Fighter Alpha 1 for the Sony PlayStation and the Sega Saturn. That's right. No versions of Street Fighter 2 had any kind of training mode. Why is this important? In the 90s, 91, 90s, 93, you go to the arcade, it's packed. There's one person that just won't get off the machine because they're so good. They're dominating. You were not going to get good at that game by just like ramming yourself against that person over and over and over again. And in the United States, especially, we did not have head-to-head setups. We had side-by-side setups. So guess what you did? You had a conversation with that person. Now, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes the conversation wasn't super great. I definitely have a couple of memories of people flicking cigarette butts in my eyes and all that kind of stuff. I have a friend who has cigarette burns on their arm from a nasty situation with a fellow player. But by and large, you ask them a question, they're going to respond to you in some capacity. And you could at least look at their hands, see what they're doing, etc. There was a conversation that happened. That's the only way you really got better. And then on top of that, you got one and done, you left, you got to back to the line. You watched to see what other players were figuring out and learning. And there was a conversation developed with the people in the line with you as you watched. Okay, this guy's doing this. And oh, Jeremy almost got it, but not quite. Okay, if he'd done this one thing, that would have done it. And eventually you developed a strategy. You'd overcome the one guy, and then you'd be the king of the cab for a while. The other element to this is, back in the days, there was no training mode, but you know what happened? The best players brought a buddy of theirs to the arcade during the off hours. They brought a big chunk of change with them. And they simulated a training mode with themselves. They had a conversation. The one partner they had would literally just play a dummy and say, hey, okay, I want you to block after I do this one move. See if that's actually a true block string. We didn't call it block strings then. We didn't know what the hell block strings were, but that's what we called it, right? And that only happened through conversation. That's only happened through communication. So I have a whole spiel about what Street Fighter means in terms of fighting game community and how it birthed that and that conversational layer. And that's just necessary to growing in that particular hobby. And that's the one thing I draw a heartfelt, emphatic, I'm sorry to people who are getting into the hobby now, who see a game discounted on Steam or something, $10. Oh yeah, I'll pick up Tekken 8. I'll pick up Street Fighter 6. I'll pick up whatever new game. And I'll just mess around. And they will think that the game that as it presents itself, which is all these modes and these things you have to level up and play it as a single player experience, is the fighting game experience. And it is absolutely not the fighting game experience. So to John's point, that is absolutely where the beauty of all of that shines. The second note that I have on the leadership capacity, when John, you challenge people to say, hey, ask for help. I also echo that sentiment, but it has another cool feature. Because 99 times out of 100, you ask for help, it's going to make them feel good. It's going to make them feel powerful. You're going to be more connected, and you're probably going to be best buds. Not going to lie. But once in a while, your worst fear will actually happen. Once in a while, the person will stick the knife in you. They will look at you differently. They'll go, oh, this person, they need help from me. I thought they were better than that, etc. And I would not be afraid of that, because what that does is gives you the opportunity to recognize and identify what many call the dark triad, which are people that are biomechanically, socioeconomically, or otherwise wired in a way in which empathy is not their first emotion. They think of everything from the ends justify the means kind of thing. There's a lot of people that say they aren't that, or they give you the mask that they aren't that. But it's in those moments when you ask for help, that's where their true colors really shine. And it gives you the information of knowing, okay, this is how this person leans. Yes, it's hurt me. Yes, they look at me differently. But now I have information on my end that I can start pushing them away a little bit further and focus on the people who would not hurt me, who are stronger with me in that capacity. And to anyone that is fearful of that, I will just simply, I think a really great question to ask is, if you stop yourself short of asking for help, ask yourself this question. What opportunity am I losing as a result of saying goodbye to this? Because there's an opportunity here. I'm saying goodbye to it. I could literally ask for help. I could be stronger with this person. I could get a solution to my problems. Am I okay just saying goodbye to that? And I think that's a great question to ask ourselves as we challenge ourselves to do that. But more on that, John. What do you have for us?
A couple of things. I'll say to 3A in my list. I've been cultivating the Dark Triad piece. I do, and I'm glad you brought this up. There is a level of it is not all sunshine and rainbows. There's hella sunshine and a couple of really banging rainbows, but there's a couple of challenges. And one of those challenges is because people get afraid of the rejection, but it's kind of like the first time if you're a hockey player, the very first time you ever get checked into the boards. There's a level like, oh God. And then you do it, you go, oh, I'm wearing armor. Cool. Like, and it's just like, you're like, oh, okay. Like another common challenge, and we can have a whole episode on this sometime, maybe soon, because it's really good, is rejection. Rejection is very scary until you get rejected and you're like, okay, that might've been it. Like, I think I'm done. So if you ask somebody for help and they say no, when you have a negative emotion, an automatic negative thought, oh my God, I'm going to break it down. Here we go. This is actually a lot of things, but I really want the viewers and I want you guys to know this because it's really important. So there's a thing called ANT, automatic negative thought, where your brain will just be like, hey, you're inadequate and you're bad and your friends don't like you. You should be able to do this. Your brain constantly generates thoughts all the time. These thoughts are designed to protect you. They're designed to warn you. So in the case you're in NASA and you're about to tell the guy how to launch the ship and they're like, you've never been here. You don't know how this works. You'll kill that man. That thought is about to save somebody's life. But most of the time, that thought is worthless. It'll be like, oh, don't say that to that person because they won't like you and they'll be mean. And genuinely 99% of the time, this isn't useful. The problem is shame, of course, does keep track of when it is, which will be like the 2 times in 6 years. But remember that one time that you were going to NASA? But I'll save that mansion.
The human brain does a thing where it makes the one thing the everything, and it's not true. That's the lie it tells us to protect us.
Our software is really built for aggregating negative data. Mm-hmm. So these automatic negative thoughts feel utilitarian. They are not. But there's what you do when these things happen, this is the system, this is the move, is you ask yourself, would I say that to a friend? You say, if I wouldn't say this to my friend, if my friend tried this thing and he failed at it, and I wouldn't be like, you're a bad piece of shit, you now have a new job. Your job is to do what's called cognitive diffusion. And this is the take-home tip of the day. Automatic thoughts, automatic negative thoughts, automatic good thoughts, they're always paired with a feeling. I guess sometimes you'll just be like, that is a green plant, and that no feeling detected. But mostly you'll lose the video game and you'll be like, why am I bad? Automatic thought, pain, sadness, fear. You'll ask a person on a date and they go, oh, I'm sorry, I'm seeing something. You go, cool. I'm a fool for asking. Shame, regret. And what you do when these things are in nature is they weave together and you have now what's called thought feeling fusion. Your feeling makes your thought feel extra true. So cognitive diffusion, not diffusion, but diffusion, is you pop the thought apart from the feeling by saying, I'm noticing that I'm having a thought that blank. And what you're doing is making degrees of mental space. So when that thought comes in and you catch it, the feeling is now just a feeling you're having independently, which is a valid thing. It's a biological process. It'll fade. And then we can challenge the veracity and exaggeration of this bad on its own because it is not there to help. Even though it felt true, which is a big challenge for people in depression a lot of the time. Does that make sense? Can I clarify anything with that?
Tell me more about the feeling true. Why does it feel true?
So humans are really, really built, as we should do a show on this probably soon, about authenticity. We get this really icky feeling when we feel we're being insincere. I know that at times behind the scenes, the 3 of us have talked about topics and there's been like, this didn't feel right when we did this. I don't really like how that went down. And that is a useful signal if it's telling you that you're saying like, okay, that didn't feel genuine to me. That's not my message. That's not what I would actually like to say. But unfortunately, the like feeling true thing can happen if the thought feeling connection is still too tight. There's a memory. I'm a fan of the Chicago Bears. I wasn't sure I was allowed to wear football merchandise, so I didn't wear my Bears shirt today, but they're playing on Monday. And when they lose, I feel sad. I think things like, no, that is unacceptable. And I remember very clearly a partner of mine at the time was like, hey, looks like the game's wrapping up. You want to go get some food? A fun, kind person offering to do a thing I need to do with me to make me feel better. And do you know what I said? No. Because I wanted to stay there and checks notes, be angry because I needed to be like, things were bad. Things were capital B bad because it felt like I had to have a bad day. And then that just kind of was like, wait, this is nuts. Like, things don't have to be bad because my millionaire guys that I like didn't win at the game. Like, that's actually not important. I just think it. And now that I'm feeling the feeling separately, I can function again. So when you have these moments and you're feeling something, including the burden thing, right? Because you'll be like, can I have help? Or you're about to say that. You shouldn't talk in that weird little voice, but you go to ask for help and you say like, oh man, I'm such a piece of shit. I shouldn't have to ask for help. I'm going to burden this person. I'm noticing that I'm having a thought that I'm going to be burdensome or unwanted. It's a thought. Your brain just had it. And you're feeling scared and sad because you're afraid to impact your relationship with the person you care about. Valid, complete, useful, healthy, let it process. Garbage, AI content, slop, not useful. This is a skill. It's not a thing that anyone should hear this and go, I can do that now. What you can do is practice
Takes a
it now.
long time.
But as you get good at it, it starts to happen automatically. And the healing from that is tremendous. So
I want to offer something that complements that, because in the software development space and even video game development space, for those of you that are interested in this kind of thing, the really good developers, they take all feedback in and they love it. But for them, it's not, they know that human beings are really bad at saying, hey, here's why I don't like this, and here's the root cause. They have no idea. They have a feeling, and it's intense, and then they try to rationalize it later. Software developers know this. And so what they do is they collect, people didn't like this, we don't know why. They give us a bunch of reasons, they're all wrong, but they're saying there's an element they don't like this. There's a famous example when Killer Instinct 2013 had one of their balance patches, there was like tremendous amounts of feedback saying Jago was overpowered in his DP fireball trap kind of mechanisms. And they knew for a fact, the developers, that's not, what's happening is people aren't getting the hook we're trying to give them the counterplay. So what they did is they actually enhanced a totally different element, didn't even touch that, and then suddenly no one's complaining about that problem they had before. So I'm offering this to people listening to say, really smart people, they know that too. They know that there's a difference between feeling, and the feeling is usually the truth. But we, as our brains, just have no idea how to rationalize it. We can't put thoughts together. They're unreliable. They're stupid. They're dumb. It's okay to have a feeling and have a really mixed message with our thoughts. It's okay to not try to rationalize it, but recognize the feeling and the thought as two separate things, which is complementary to what John was saying.
Oh my God, just brilliantly put. So incredibly true. It's not only okay to have a feeling, it's okay to have every feeling you've ever had ever. You've never had a bad feeling. All your feelings are valid. Some of them are unpleasant. Some of them are not fun to have. And some of them come from thoughts that are maybe distorted. A lot of them come from thoughts that are distorted. A lot of them come from unfair things. But a feeling is a biological process. You just got to do it. So I have quick two things I want to make sure that I say on this topic. One is the thing that I think I interrupted myself on so hard that I never finished it, but it's the way to actually do the feeling. Because doing a feeling is a verb, and we can talk about that a little bit. The other one that I want to talk about really quick is it's not a specific client of mine. And if dear clients of mine, if you ever did watch this show, know that I will never tell your story with any identifying details. I will change so many things and keep as many things vague as possible. If anyone ever didn't feel that I was doing that, 100%. Doing of feelings. So my favorite way to do feelings, I think we touched on this a little before, is you share the thing. You say, I'm feeling emotion word because blank. The person hears you. They say, wow, that must be blank. This is the validation symptom. It just fires off, not symptom, the validation chain. It takes care of it. In this case, I'm just Johnny Feeling Man, and I'm at home, and I have no one else to feel things. Maybe I just lost at a video game. I did, per se, which is rare for me, but let's just say that I did. And I'm thinking, I am wasting my time. I shouldn't be playing this game if I can't win 50% of the time. Sound familiar? Anyone at home? People say this. It's a randomly imposed toxic thing because you have to be in the top half of things. But what you do instead of trying to argue that you are or aren't good enough, because therein lies the way to ruin, is you say, yeah, I'm having a feeling right now. Okay, what is it? Seems like anger, seems like sadness. There's a really fun webpage. We can go to it. We can not go to it. It's called feelingswheel.com. In fact, maybe we'll go to it. Maybe I'll pull it up really quick. It's a thing that like all therapists talk about and do stuff with, but it feels a little bit like, I don't know. It feels obvious. It feels redundant. It feels easy, but it's just so useful. Boom.
Nice.
Look at that.
Wow.
The feelings wheel.
That's a lot of colors. Very small font.
It gets better.
I appreciate.
You can turn it now. And it is, obviously we can have it be different sizes or whatever have you, but if you feel bad, that spirals out a little bit. If you feel sad, that spirals out a little bit. So what you want to do, if you can, is catch the feeling that you're actually feeling. While we're talking about the shout out to feelingswheel.com, by the way, for being free and available and fun and on like every piece of stationery a therapist owns. But the other thing you can do is, and should do, is you label the biological pieces of that emotion. I'm going to stop sharing this. So for instance, say that I'm feeling that kind of rage, sadness, because I just lost the game. I'm going to summon the feeling right now. It's been so long since I've lost, I can barely remember, but I'm pretty sure it feels like there's a hotness in my chest, I grit my teeth when I'm losing. I get sweaty when I play video games in general. Sorry for that, everybody, but I really do. But it's worse when I'm in this space and I can feel it like on my hands and I can feel this tension and I go, I'm noticing this symptom. I think I'm angry. I'm noticing a little bit of tightness behind my eyebrows. I'm noticing, and you just kind of say that stuff and just let your body examine it mindfully, just noticing it, and it will begin to decrease on its own. That's like the bare minimum survival tools for escaping a feeling. It really does work, and I encourage people to try it. And if it doesn't work, tell me what happened, and I'll tell you how you can either do it differently or why I'm right anyway and you're wrong. Or actually, I would love to validate. And this is the thing that I love talking about, so don't be shy if you do want to write to us and let us know, because that's like, super fun. So my bit is this, and this is one that I do really want to make sure to take time to say. It's not about a specific client. It's about a variety of clients I've had who share something in common, which is that they're all extraordinarily high functioning. People who are wildly successful by conventional terms. I'm talking about CEOs. I'm talking about people who graduated out of school with engineering degrees, walking into six-figure jobs. I'm talking about people who are doctors. I'm talking about lawyers, corporate lawyers making $300,000 a year. I'm talking about just the cream of the crop, the various crop, insofar as like winning at life through traditional means of success. These people have a specific challenge. And if you are a person who's ever been called gifted or been regarded for your success in some way, I'm speaking to you specifically right now, as well as the rest of everybody. But you are the ones who will have the hardest time asking for success, because it's very likely you've been involved in cultures that have promoted success the whole time and saying this is what are expected. This is, we're an elite level. This is a high tier agency. This is whatever. So when it's time that you're doing an actually very hard thing and you do actually need help, you have been conditioned by the system you've participated in, be it academia, professional institutions, or whatever else have you, that you can't do it because you're the elite one. You're the best one. You're the strong one. And I have watched brilliant professionals get stuck on a case, a client, a challenge, because they're like, but I'm supposed to know. And if I ask people, they'll know that I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
These are people, by the way, once again, who are elite in their industries. But if it's you versus the other thing and you can't ask for help, I mean, you can feel the prison of your own mind forming around this experience as it is. And when I have done the motivational interviewing, which is the tactic to be like, how will this work? Try this thing. How will this work? Try this thing. I have, in my entire 14-ish year career of being a therapist, not a single bad response.
I am sure we will go back to this topic of asking for help quite a few more times. There's so much to talk
100%.
about. I have a sloppy 2 hours on this topic for sure. I will just simply say to anyone that's about to make the leap towards asking anyone for help, you're brave. Thank you for doing it.
Yes.
The world needs it. Even if you have doubts, I have no doubts for you, and I will cheerlead for you as much as I possibly can. And even if it goes as horribly as you possibly imagine to do it, I'm going to ask that you do it one more time after that, and one more time after that. And eventually the averages will be in your favor, and it will be to your benefit. You will be able to rewire your limbic brain system, and you'll be happier, you'll be more connected, and you'll have more friends. And there's just an overwhelming net positive to all those things.
Can I do it? A tight one?
Go.
A hasted one.
Go.
So I just had a client, because you just said was poetic and beautiful, and I agreed with it. I said almost the same thing to a client once upon a time. And they said, and if you are this client, know that I adore you and I think you're smart and this changed my life. They said, you keep asking me to touch the stove. I don't want to get burned again. And I think the work that happens for a lot of us who have had that experience is you learn the art, metaphorically, of putting your hand near the stove and gauging the warmth. But you can't gauge for zero warmth. You have to gauge for it's not burning hot. I'm going to test it for 1 second and see.
Yeah. You have to have trust in yourself to be able to get close without touching, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So if you've had that experience and you've been hurt, we see you, you're valid. That feeling is valid 100%. But I can tell you, as a person who's tried the other solution of not asking, the world gets too hard. This is a multiplayer game. It doesn't matter how good you are. You need a team.
And it's
Hear that from a place of love and empathy.
100%. Couldn't say it more.
Hey there, viewers. It's me, John. The others aren't listening right now, and I wanted to touch base with you really quickly. So, you know how Daniel is always like doing the editing thing? We thought it'd be really funny if we sabotaged his hard work and made the unedited version available for a nominal fee. I will be using this fee to pay my lawyer bill when Daniel finds out that I've been doing it. So if you go to patreon.com, link should be below. If I can get in there without him noticing, to the Zero.media webpage, you can see us talk much worse about much more things. So I got to get out of here because they're coming back soon. Bye.
I want to pose a question to the two of you.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Ready.
You better be ready. What is the most ridiculous thing you feel you've ever had to ask for help for?
So you're asking for the ultimate.
The ultimate,
Oof.
most ridiculous thing, in your opinion.
I do a lot of spiels about asking for help, so I have a lot of material to draw from. I've also done many things by myself and have encountered a lot of challenges. It isn't the most ridiculous, but I one time didn't ask for help to fixing a sink, and then I got to ask the plumber to charge a little less than the $400 I wouldn't have had to pay otherwise. I think the most ridiculous one, and I say this with compassion for myself because I think it's kind of cute. First, I'm gonna suit myself up a little bit. So, like, long ago, I was a child, and I watched a horror movie, and there's a kid who was hiding, and the monster comes and it just like kills him. And I was like, I, child John, swear that in a moment of action, I will always do something. And that oath has followed me my whole life. There's a famous story in my life in college where I'm walking with my girlfriend. We're going this way, woman's coming this way, and a purse snatching man runs up, grabs the purse, and runs off. And I chased this man down an alley, and I tackled him into a fence. He did get away because he was an athlete and I was a man in flip-flops. But like, I'll do things like that, right? I have defended people from a person with a box cutter with my body. Like, I'm not afraid of adventures. I've had some cool stories. And yet, when it snows, I get very scared. I live in Minnesota, a place where it is winter 6 months a year. And I drive a very powerful car called a Kia Soul. Go ahead and I know some of you thought I was like a humble, regular guy. No, I'm better than you. And it has the horsepower of a sick horse who is not long for the world. And I've had a problem where I was at home in my hometown of Normal, Illinois, and I was trying to go up a hill, and there was ice, Kia, had this happen in the Mall of America ramp. So I'm very scared in snow. So I have done all these adventures, and it snowed first time of the year last year. My spouse and I are going to get coffee on a lovely day, no work, no rush. And I start to turn the car into park, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't. And my spouse, to her credit, looked at me and was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, no. And I was like, can you park it? I'm sorry. I feel, she's like, you don't need to be sorry. And she got out and we switched, and she parked it immediately because it was not a hard task to do. It was literally just like, but I was so afraid because my body's like, this is where we die in the tomb of ice. You recall the ancient times. And like, it felt so humbling, but I could tell that she felt good in doing it because she was helping me. She made me feel safe. We got to go have coffee afterward. And it is not proportionate to my adventure abilities. But I remember being so grateful to her for taking the wheel, literally in this case, and just like helping me out. And then I don't know. It was a good day. We felt closer after that. It was like a positive thing. So that's one of my many.
That's awesome. That's a good story. Dang. I think mine's just absurd, stupid. So during a transition in my career where I went from working in pharmaceuticals to trying to figure out what I want to do the rest of my life, a really fun period, by the way, but also a period where I worked about 3 to 4 part-time jobs, constantly, never had a day off. During that period of time, there's a fun little thing that you can do if you don't want to pay the really expensive premium for really crappy insurance in the United States. It's terrible. There was a period in time very shortly where we got penalized if you didn't have insurance. So you either paid the premium or got fined. I chose to take the fine because the fine was cheaper than paying for insurance. And then what I decided to do is if I'm working 60, 70 hours at all these jobs, if I get sick, workman's comp, they'll take care of everything. That actually happened twice where one time I lost part of my finger. I had to go to the hospital and they took care of all the bill for that, and super fun. But anyway, I share that story in the sense that during this period of time when I'm just taking any job that I can, mostly physical labor, and while I'm transitioning to this period of my life, I work in the restaurant business, and I work at a high-end, nice bar. And of course, if you jump in and you have no skills, they treat you like crap and make you like a bar back of some kind, and you're like the guy that you get dirty and all that good stuff. Anyway, I was fortunate enough that the manager of this bar, we are very good friends now, and she loved me back then too. And she doesn't even remember this story. This is how crazy stupid our brains work. When things are winding down for the night, there's lots of tables to get done. Just, Sam, can you go ahead and just bus the tables for me? I didn't know what bus meant. Bus table? Is there a bus involved? I'm confused. If she had said clean the tables, clear the tables, I would have been fine. But I was really afraid of doing it wrong because I wanted to do a good job because that's how my special brain worked. And so it took me a moment, but I'm like, what does bus table mean? And what ended up happening was she says, she grabbed a bin. And then in the moment she grabbed the bin and started doing what you do, which is you clean the table, put everything in a bin. I'm like, okay, I got it. I know what you mean. But she was so convinced I was that dumb. She walked me through every single thing. You put the glasses this way, you put the dishes this way. And there's a part where your brain goes, no, please stop. I actually knew what it was. I just didn't know what the word was. I am so sorry. But the train, the avalanche is already going, and she just thinks you're a total bumbling idiot. I'm like, okay, I got it. And she thought I was such an idiot. She didn't actually, but in my head, she decides to bus with me because she didn't think I could actually do it well enough for the task that she had just told me how to do. Totally fine, because we were really close now and we're good friends. And the story of this is that she had such confidence and trust in me later on that I became one of the head bartenders for this place for a while. And it was super awesome. But I remember that story so much because in the restaurant business, especially, I think if I had not been in that particular environment, I wouldn't have asked the question. I would have just faked it till I made it. But in the restaurant business, you can't. You have to act like an idiot. You have to ask the dumb question. You have to let your manager think you're stupid to get the job done and do it well. Otherwise, customers are going to be mad. You're going to bottleneck a bunch of other things, and it's going to make a bunch of people mad. People are going to throw Yelp reviews and all that kind of stuff. And so I think about that experience quite a bit because I think sometimes people that work in either consumer-facing experiences or especially the restaurant business, they are really good at asking for help. They don't care so much because they know the cost is too severe. The cost is I could piss off this customer and we don't get a tip, or they'd run away from their bill, or we could bottleneck the whole thing. I have to look dumb for you right now for this hot little second, and then we can move on. And I think that's what the manager knew at the time. Like, you're looking stupid right now, but it's okay because I'm going to correct this for you right now, and then we'll be fine. Again, she does not even remember this story, but I remember it because I remember the hot moment of going, what does bus mean? I have no idea.
That is an amazing story. And I do feel like there are often things like that that are so like insignificant little pieces of like verbiage, like parlance, like at the place that like, if you don't know, you don't know. If you just have to figure it out as you go. There's a thing, I mean, like to tie to everyone's favorite tie on this show, the fighting game community. If you ever try to get into a fighting game, you should, by the way, viewer, if you currently don't play, we recommend them strongly. Please ask because you, A, of all, you just don't sound stupid. The terms are ridiculous. And B, of all, everyone has done it. Same thing in the gym. All my passions, all of the things that I love, the people who do it want to help you. And if you act like you know, we'll assume you know. And if you don't, we will be so jazzed to help you once again, unless we're Dark Triad, in which case, just like, you know, okay, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Let him go. Not a big deal. That's a great story, Sam.
Can confirm that all of the biggest, scariest, most jacked people that you see in a gym turn out to be lovely teddy bears who just want to help.
Almost without fail.
Yeah, every single time when I first started going, I had no idea how to even pick up a weight properly. I was like, I'm somehow going to pick this weight up wrong. Everyone's going to stop what they're doing, turn and look at me and kick me out the gym, laughing, you know, muscles rippling as they laugh. Just, it was, but no, it's been such a welcoming, wholesome community. And that is not just a gym thing. That is the experience that I've had when I've asked for help in anything, any walk of life. It has completely been the opposite of what my brain was telling me, which was, this is going to be terrible. Everyone's going to think you are dumb. They are going to hate you. It has been the complete opposite. And I've made so many new friends and met so many lovely people just simply by asking them for help. Yeah.
I want to bounce on that and touch on something Sam said very quickly. A while ago, it was mentioned in passing and perhaps even with different words slightly, but the idea like it isn't like weak to ask for help. It is strong, but it's also brave. There's a level of courage. And if you are the person who asks for help in a setting where there is a group, you are about to be the door opener, not just for you, but for a lot of people. How many of you have been in a class where somebody asks a question, the class is silent as the grave, and then the teacher's like, oh, okay. And then they say the thing, and everyone's like, oh, I also have a question. And then it's a level of like, and now we're a group, and now we're a cohort, and we're on the same team instead of all playing the I'm the readiest one, and I'm not weird and behind, which is just a very hard time.
100%. 100%. To give a sneak peek to a continuation episode we'll do at some point about asking for help. There's the elevated level of asking for help, especially if you know you are a leader of a group, a cohort of some kind, where to ask for help not only invites other people to give their voicing and let the community feel that psychological safety that they're all not feeling at that particular moment, but the secret ingredient, and we'll talk about this, is oftentimes leaders do this thing where they say, I have my own ideas, but first I want to hear from you. And that's a terrible way to ask for help. Or my favorite, here's my idea. Okay, now what are your counter ideas? Terrible way. A great effective leader might have their own idea, but it doesn't matter because they focus on the group. Say, hey, what are our thoughts on how we solve this problem? And if John comes up with a solution that's very similar to mine, then who cares about my idea? John likes his idea, and it's basically the same as my idea. Fantastic, John. Great idea. Fantastic. Wonderful. Great effective leaders do that. And so on all levels of our life, asking for help has so much use case and efficacy across a bunch of different things. So again, that's a sneak peek for a later episode on that particular topic, but I share that to just know that it's not just something it's like not a beginner thing. It's a thing you do everywhere throughout the vertical. The 0 dot message of hope. When we ask for help, we're not just strong. We're not just brave. We're doing more than that. We're showing trust. And when we have trust, we build bridges that weren't there before. And if you're listening to our podcast and watching us, you know that all of us believe that our greatest resource is each other. And so what better way to reinforce that than asking for help? Until next time.